Welcome to the lineup. I'm Megan McDonald. We are switching it up this week as we are in the beautiful Las Vegas in the Orleans Arena, where both men's and women's basketball media day is taking place today and WAC championships over in March. But we do have other business to attend to, so let's hop right in to your top stories. Starting with volleyball, take a look at the standings. New Mexico State holding strong at number 1. Utah Valley, Seattle U, UMKC rounding out the top 4. We have a match between number 1 and number 2 in the standings. New Mexico State versus Utah Valley in Las Cruces. Glenn Murphy, leading the WAC in hitting percentage at .478, has been leading New Mexico State the whole year. So we'll see what the All-American candidate can do against preseason WAC Player of the Year Lauren Bacher and the Wolverines. UVU not getting a ton of love in the preseason polls, but proving a lot of people wrong, handing Seattle U a loss last week. Over in men's soccer, looking at the standings, Seattle U, Utah Valley, and UNLV holding strong. San Jose State with a big win over Grand Canyon last weekend. They look to continue their surge up the standings. But the hot team in the WAC right now is Houston Baptist, coming off 2 big wins against then number 23 Utah Valley and number 19 Seattle U. The Huskies take on UMKC and Air Force this weekend and will be looking to keep their momentum going deep into conference play. Dominic Folletto, coming off a WAC Offensive Player of the Week title, recorded 3 points in the Seattle U game and added another goal versus Utah Valley. Folletto, just a freshman, we'll see what he has up his sleeve for the rest of the season. Let's kick it on over to women's soccer. Utah Valley undefeated at home, taking that number 1 spot over Seattle U in conference standings. But a lot of intriguing matchups this weekend as the top 4 teams all face someone else in the top 4. The Wolverines take on number 3 Grand Canyon, but don't sleep on defending WAC champ Seattle U. The Redhawks are on a 4-game shutout streak and have 8 total on the season since last allowing a goal in a 1-1 draw at Utah Valley on September 26th. GCU has a tough weekend playing those number 1 and 2 teams, Utah Valley and Seattle U, but the Lopes are coming off a combined 9-goal weekend last week against Chicago State and UMKC, so we'll see if the Lopes can carry that momentum and rise to the challenge. So as you can see, we do have a break in Media Day, so we thought we'd take you behind the scenes to see where the coaches address the media for the first time this season and answer all those tough questions. Speaking of tough, let's check out other key matchups. Women's soccer, UMKC faces New Mexico State and Chicago State takes on UTRGV. The Roos held the Redhawks to a 0-0 draw recently, but the Aggies are having their senior night, so they will be playing to win. Chicago State and UTRGV back-to-back in the standings. We'll see who can pull through in that matchup. Men's soccer, Seattle U, still ranked in the top 25 for the 3rd week in a row, take on Bakersfield. The Redhawks looking to avenge the runners upsetting them last year, while San Jose State has a tough weekend playing Utah Valley. The Wolverines dropped out of the top 25 and will be looking to get this W to possibly get back in. Volleyball, CSU Bakersfield and UMKC play each other in Kansas City. Both teams are 3-2 in the WAC, and the Roos are 10th in the nation in digs. The Runners are looking to bounce back after dropping to New Mexico State last weekend in a 3-1 decision. Speaking of New Mexico State, on top of playing number 2 UVU, the Aggies also play number 3 Seattle U. We'll see if they can hold on to that number 1 spot after this weekend. Over in cross country, all 8 schools in action this weekend. UTRGV heads to Tuscaloosa for the Crimson Classic and Chicago State to the UW Parkside Invitational. Later, the Lopes and the Aggies meet up at the Bronco Invitational, while the Wolverines and the Roos take part in separate pre-national races. We are in the arena right now, not a ton going on, but come March, this is where WAC Basketball Championships will be held. All those games live on the WAC Digital Network. Speaking of the WAC Digital Network, let's take a look on what's going on this weekend. In volleyball, again, that New Mexico State-Utah Valley matchup is live on top of Seattle U versus UTRGV and Grand Canyon at UMKC. In men's soccer, Utah Valley hosts San Jose State, and in women's soccer, the Seattle U Bakersfield game and the UMKC-UTRGV match, also on the WAC Digital Network. Later on in the weekend, in volleyball, Bakersfield travels to Kansas City on the network, and in men's soccer, UTRGV also against UMKC, while Bakersfield hosts Utah Valley. In women's soccer, 2 more games on the WAC Digital Network. The Wolverines host the Runners, and Chicago State travels to Edinburgh, Texas. Don't forget, WAC Basketball Championships are right here in the Orleans come March. For more information, check us out at wacsports.com or follow us on Twitter and Facebook.